if we see that wealth management is moving into the direction where we need to get closer to the users or customers' values and their needs, we need to spend more time. I would say 40% or something like that of our time to understand the customer segment and actually work with them. The products will maybe be like 10-15% of it, and then the rest will maybe be technology. I know but we need to nail it down in this way. Like 40% of your business should focus on understanding the customers all the time. It's not just like, okay, we do a survey or we do a focus group. Hell no. We need to have a community that is driving and understanding and all the time utilizing time. And it costs time, it costs money, but it's easy because you get so much from the new gen of people. They if you ask them, they answer straight away.
Varan, thanks for coming. It's great seeing you again.
You too. Thanks, Chris.
All right, so let's just, to start, tell us who you are and what you do.
So my name is Varan. I'm 35 years old. I have been working the last 10 years in investment banking, first in Danske Bank, Saxo, and so on, and been working as a consultant. And I'm the CEO and founder of Make Impact today, where we help non-investors to get started with the investing journey in sustainable investing, impact investing.
Okay, tell us what is the main problem that Make Impact is trying to solve in the market?
Yeah, so Make Impact is solving the problem of the newer generation that actually want to get access to the investment world. So we try to democratize investing, but in the new generation, the new gens between 18 to 28 years old, so the Gen Zeters and the new generation coming in, they have really strive about sustainability and impact, and they want to use their money to actually make an impact in the world. The way the structure is with the banks and general investment platforms today is like really focused on the investment part, not just like why we're actually investing. So that question is what the younger generation is actually questioning, and by that we hope that we, with the community, with engagement, with learning environment and an investment platform, can actually solve that problem and actually helping people who have never invested before to actually get started investing with the values in mind. Because it's all about values and what we actually believe in terms of how we want to invest.
All right, and one thing I find really interesting here is your target audience, 18 to 28.
Yeah.
One would say that traditionally that's been an audience that's been neglected from the investment services. Yeah. So why did you choose to focus on that audience?
It's the most interesting, right? Like one thing is like you can go for the people who already invest today and actually make them better investors. Looking into the blue ocean of new generation coming in with new knowledge and new understanding of how they actually want to use the money to make a difference. Because one thing is that we have the FIRE principle, financially independent, retire early generation coming in and saying like, why should I save up to a time when I'm 90? I want to like live my life now. I want to live my life in 10, 15 years. So having a generation coming in that they want to utilize their money in a different way, and also with the sustainable mindset of actually that the banks, they have seen the crisis, right? They've been a part of their parents, like in the financial crisis in 2008, and so they're like, okay, who should we trust? So there's a mistrust in terms of the environment, and thereby we need to help them to create one thing is like trust and a way that they can feel understood. And also we actually need to communicate in a language they actually can understand. So there's two ways of it, because one thing is in the early days, you're like, the younger generation should just understand whatever is out there. Now it's the other way around. We need to understand the younger generation and actually understand like hardcore facts and make that understandable for the younger generation. And that's a totally shift of how we communicate. Like the younger generation use max 6 seconds on social media to actually read a post. So how do you make sure that whatever you want to communicate out is told in a way that I actually catch their attention? And sometimes you need to educate on social media, and you know that with the SoMe and all those things, that's where people get knowledge from today. So just having that and then taking complex investment knowledge and actually making that understandable for the younger generation, that's where the tricky part is, and that's what I really think is it's interesting and amazing to work with.
Right, and I think what you're describing is really more of a cultural shift where I'm a bank, I have some products that I want to push out to, I have an audience, I want to understand what their needs are and therefore cater for those needs, right? So it's a radical mind shift.
It is, and you can say, like, if you think from the old school of saying that you have a banker and he's an advisor, bank advisor, right? So in the old days, you actually went into a bank, you talked to a bank advisor, and you got some advice from the banks.
Yeah.
But with this product push in the last 2 decades, we've got so many products that we need to use this one or the other one or so on, and it's really, really hard for the younger generation to understand, okay, why should I choose the one for the other? So, as I said, like, the bankers forgot to doing advice, right? To actually giving that advice. That type of advice is not the same way that you invite a young generation in and then saying, okay, sit, let's talk about your future, let's talk about your pension, and they're like, and don't talk to me about the pension. It's like so far away. Let's talk about now. I need money now. I need to live my life now. And I want to work 2 days a week. I want to live in Bali and do some work there. Like the nomad, digital nomad, like the whole mindset of understanding the new audience and how they want to live their life. That's what I see missing. And furthermore, like, they don't want, like, to walk into a bank. We know that, right? Like everything is digitalized. But when you are so far away from your audience and the new generation audience, you need to understand how they work in the digital world. And then you need to look at your products and advice and actually tailor that for them. Not the other way around. Like, we can't sit down back. And that's what I see as a big shift in the setup today, where digitalization makes it possible to do a lot of different ways to actually meet the requirements of the younger generation, but it has to be done in their lingo, in their tone of voice. And just the word tone of voice, like 10 years ago, if I talked about with anyone in the bank, like, what are you talking about? That's something marketing people are talking about. Now people understand what is tone of voice. Like, if you want to explain a hardcore topic about EU sustainability, finance, whatever, you need to really tailor it down into something that people can understand. And that's where we have to take daily habits, daily things that we really, like, understand, and actually taking investment lingo down to that, so people say, okay, now I understand investment a little bit better. But of course, they won't get experts, and that's not what we want to try to do. We're not here for educating people to become experts. We want to get from -2 in knowledge to +1, and then when they're ready to take to 2, 3, 4 in the levels of investment knowledge, they can go other places to seek for it. So we really focus on the non-investor and getting them started.
Right. Okay, and how do you actually bring a product to market for an audience that traditionally has not consumed that product before?
Really, really great question. Of course, like 3 years ago when we started this journey about, like, okay, let's work with people's values and try to understand how they understand their own values. So what are my values? When you start in a company, you have, like, the corporate values, and when they don't exist in a new company, when you, like, move from one job to another, okay, this is different. The values are different from the previous one. That's where you understand, even if you're getting into a relationship with a person, a partner, you understand you need to find the balance of the values, and the values of you as a person can be different. Like, even though we have the mindset, okay, we want to invest sustainably, you might be really, really interested in the social part of ESG. I might be interested in the governance part or the climate part, but we still have an investment sustainable mindset of we want to make a change in the world, but we want to do it in different ways. So that understanding of each other's values is one of the most important parts to just bring a product into the market. Because if we can't talk into the same thoughts of the users, like, why do you invest? Why do you want to invest? What should your investments go for? And today, luckily, and I'm so happy and glad that, EU has been taking that task up on them, on the EU taxonomy, to actually pushing the banks right now to be much more knowledgeable about the client's purpose. Why do they invest? So here in August, all the banks, when they're doing a suitability check and getting new customers on board, they need to understand the values of the customers. They actually need to understand whether they have environmental, social, or governance led in your values, and based upon that, they have to provide you products on that. And 3 years ago, there was no law, there's nothing. Right. So I see a big financial industry moving towards being closer to the customers, understanding the customers, and after that, providing products. And I think maybe you could say, like, have we been a little bit ahead of the curve? Maybe, because we have been quite interested into the younger generation and saying, okay, what's happening here? And now, you know, the old bankers need to change the law, the regulatory part, the processes to fit the new generation of investors, or in general banking.
Of course.
So I've seen this, and it has been tough to be one of the first ones thinking into these things, because people are like, Varan, the younger generation don't have any money. Why do you care about them? That is the approach we hear in the financial industry. Now, because the remuneration policies is changing, that you don't get bonuses on how much you ROI, like return on investment, will be on the banker side. It's more about like, how much black money did you move into green money? That's how the remuneration policies is changing, even in the banks. And now, you know, everybody is talking about ESG, and it's like a big buzzword, but come on, it has been there for all years. Now it's just more that now law is coming in, the younger generation is asking for it, and now the financial industry needs to change.
Right. Okay. So let's touch on that, being ahead of the curve, because I think you're right. You're definitely a pioneer in both in what Make Impact is doing, and in the target audience that you're addressing. And there's a first mover's advantage here, right? But at the same time, I believe that presents certain challenges in making sure that you stay afloat in terms of cash flow. How do you
don't
do
get
that?
me started. I would like to say that when, like, I was working 7 years in the banking industry when I decided, like, I got my second child, Agathe, and my wife and I were like, okay, let's save up some money for their future. And then we were discussing, like, what is their future? What would we like to save up for? Because it's putting money in the banks, you know, now it's negative interest rates, so it doesn't make sense, right? It's better to have it in the mattress, right? You know, so we were talking about, like, okay, let's invest them. So we were like having this discussion. My wife is a radiographer, X-ray technician, so she's like very much into the healthcare, and I was like been always with technology. So we're like, okay, what should we invest in? And when we asked those questions, we're like, okay, what are our values? And that's where we started, you know, talking about, okay, we need to do something. And like I tried to call my bankers and like, okay, what should we do? And it's like, invest in the DeFi, invest in the blockchain, Bitcoin. That's where you get quick money, Varan. Like, look, I'm talking 15, 20 years ahead, and you're talking about something tomorrow. Like, so there's short term versus the long term. Sustainable investing is about buying and hold strategy. It's long term. We are trying to move a sector being more sustainable, and it will take time. So the purpose and the horizon that I was thinking about was not fitting to the general setup. But I could see a lot of young people, even, you know, with Greta Thunberg, the climate focus, the Friday for the Future, these younger generations didn't match investment and sustainability together at that point of time. But I was like, they're doing everything. We bike to work, we eat vegan once a week, we buy secondhand. We do so many things on the sustainable, you know, agenda today. We do that because it's like, that's where it was ahead of the curve earlier. So it's like, okay, now it's trendy to buy secondhand and so on. And then investment were like, there's no link. So it's like, there should be a link. And if we could move all those money which is there into sustainable investments, how much couldn't we just change in the world? So that was my, okay, let's do it. Let's try to figure it out. So I went down knocking on the banks, you know, if you have fintech, you're a startup, you want to, like, first of all, I was like, great, I know all the bank CEOs and CIOs because I've been working in the corporate sector. Let me go get out and knock at the door and say, hey, let's do something here. Like, no, it's not important. The younger generation don't have money. Why should we do this? We should go for the elite bankers or private banking. They have money. It's fine. They have a lot of money, but the younger generation have a lot of money, but they're not available on the market yet. So going into this discussion with, at that point of time, 3.5 years back, there is no purpose in their minds of actually doing what we're doing today. So I'm really happy that today everybody's talking about it, and there's not just saying, like, saying if you don't do ESG investing or you don't focus on ESG, you're out of the business, right? So it was quite tough to have these discussions with the, you know, the corporate sector or the old financial markets. But now, watching younger generation coming in, a flow of more and more interest in this, and we could see like the Robin Hood last year with the GameStop and so on, how a big community on Reddit actually sit down and saying, okay, we need to do something. The thing about GameStop, we can always talk about it, but it's more like the thing about we need to do something. So the smaller investors or non-investors sat down and saying, great, we should do something against the people who don't make this sustainable in the whole setup. And then the big movement came along. That's where my interest is, okay, what happened there? Like from a social part and analyzing that now smaller non-investors is actually taking the pledge to come together, like the synergy effect, actually to bring money together and actually make an impact. That's where I could see, okay, now something is happening. And I was really scared at the same time, but I was also happy that now we have the movement coming on. Right. And it's coming, and it's going to be bigger. So I'm just waiting, ahead of the curve. You're waiting to serve, right?
Wave,
like, So I'm happy and ready for that. But it has been 3 years where you're like going around, being, as you said, a pioneer, talking about this and talking about how do we do it, and we learned the way. We started with the community approach. We started with, okay, we need to learn the younger generation. We need to do some educational stuff, and now we're doing the investment platform. So we have everything in the Kinder Egg. We have everything in one.
Right.
And this is the offering that we would like to give out to the younger generation, to saying, okay, great, you can come in here, you can learn about sustainable investing and sustainability and so on. You can be a part of a community, engage with people who like-minded and at the same level, and then you can also invest simply and smartly based upon data that we actually present for the users. So giving the users a head start of their sustainable investing journey.
Okay, I want to touch on the community, and we'll get there in a minute. But first, tell me a bit about the impact component on your solution, your value proposition. Where does the impact come in? How is it addressing the SDGs? Tell us more about that.
Yeah. So first of all, Make Impact, our purpose is to engage and mobilize everyone to sustainable change through their investment. So the sustainable change is also like we want to make our users to make a change. So when we look at this is financial inclusion. That's number one on our approach. One thing is to learn the younger generation to get started investing. That's even just a big chunk to do.
Yeah.
Once we do that and we take the impact part of it, we are not experts, you are not experts, and there's no experts out there on sustainable investing, I would say. Because we are always learning about how we can, by technology, make more sustainable agendas. Like if you talk about different companies with new technologies, we don't know what's coming next year. We can have an idea about where we are headed, but we can't say we are an expert on these things and we have this 30 years of experience, because like technology, everything is evolving. So we don't want to be experts for the users. What we are doing right now is we are analyzing a lot of different companies, not with any AI technology or whatever, looking at the companies, like the approach of the sustainable reports that they are every year putting out, because the CSR report or impact reports or sustainability reports, whatever they call it, they have some strategies that is like 5, 10, 15 years ahead. Sitting down and reading a PDF one by one takes time, and it's not just a number. So we need to figure out how we can look at different databases where companies are putting this in and saying this is our strategy. And then of course they need to live up to this, and with the law coming in, with the EU taxonomy and SFDR law, every year companies need to report on this. So there's a lot of data out there. What we are doing is we're trying to take that data, understand that data with our people who have the sustainable finance knowledge, and saying how can we communicate this data to the younger generation that is new on this market. So our impact model, so how we look at it is we look at the SASB materiality mapping, where we know that 26 industries have issues with different sustainability measures. So if you take Novo Nordisk, for instance, as a company, or Carlsberg beverage companies, they typically have problems with some sustainability topics. Presenting this to a user, hopefully give them, okay, great, even though I want to invest in Novo, I need to be careful about these things. Next year, by 1st of January 2023, the data will be there. How is the pay gender gap in the companies? There will be so much data available in the law called Principal Adverse Indicators right now that is just out there to grasp. Once we need to grasp them, we need to filter them and visualize them so we can start playing around with them. We don't want to say to you, Chris, okay, you should, based upon your values, you should invest in these companies. No, we want to say, based upon your values, these companies comes up, go and have a look, scroll down, understand them, and if you think that is interesting for you to invest in, then go ahead.
Right.
Because we believe that to give the power back to the people in terms of that, public listed companies, everybody should be able to invest in those companies. Yeah. And understanding how we should do that. It's not just a PE number. It's not just like a ratio of low, high, middle in the last three years. It's also to look ahead and saying, what are the company actually working on? What are the mission? And this is what we believe in. When you invest in people or something, like you look at the person and saying, what does he has on his mind? That's how I understand the startup world. Like the mission that the guy, girl, whoever wanna achieve. That's what we invest in.
Yeah.
We don't look into the history. Okay, he has a nice track record. Great, cool. But what about tomorrow? I don't want to mention some companies, but some beverage companies has been really, really hard time into the market right now with the war situation, right? They waited maybe 10, 15 days to take their things out. The waiting time of not taking action by day one, because it was a hard, tough thing, that changed the thoughts from the younger generation. Like, why did you use 15 days to think about it? Like, that's a no-brainer, dude. So those are the voice we hear from the younger generation. And we can't neglect that anymore. We can't say, no, the younger generation. No. They are the future of the world. There will be a big, massive wealth transfer in the next couple of years. They don't want to earn houses and mortgage. No. They want to live in a different way. They'll have more money and utilize that money. We need to help them to understand the saving up for the future, but this is not to when I'm 90, right? For God's sake. I know that we have pension, but and we have other people taking care of that money. That's nice. But we need to think about how we can utilize the money and make an impact at the same time, and also having something 5, 10, 15 years goals ahead.
Right.
So our impact, just to wrap it up, is like really about visualizing data which is out there to the younger generation. Because I've looked at the report. And if you're a banker like me, we can see the reports and we can do some Excel mapping, and then we can say, okay, great, we'll invest in this company. But you know what? A new generation investor coming in, no way. Yeah. They need a filter, Chris. They need to filter and think, I want to see the most highly rated company that have the lowest pay-gender gap. Give me that company. Filter it. Okay, great. This is the company. Great. If my values is gender equality number 5, I might invest in that company. So I need to filter in totally different new ways that I have not been doing it before. Yeah. And that's the data set we're looking into. That's where I think it's really interesting, because talking to the younger generation, they're talking about these things. Yeah. They don't talk about a PE number. They don't even know what a PE number is. Right. Of course, we need to learn about that, right? So that's where I see the impact will be in the future, that we, by communication, by visualization, by taking hardcore data and making that simple, that's where the business is in the future.
All right, and this is absolutely fascinating. Tell me now about the community. Why is the community component so important to make impact?
We have communities everywhere, right? Like now, Metaverse, you're talking about a big community coming in, and people are going to be there in the Metaverse and like, hey, Chris, how are you? And so on. And we can have a sustainability booth, and you can come over and talk to us. That's one community. And we have Facebook communities. We have so many communities, right? When we're getting into a new playground for the younger generation, they're like, I'm really scared. And make impact, you promised me to take me in the hand and actually do something with me. I can read about the stuff, and you guys are doing some videos that I understand, but I need to talk to somebody that is like me. You are already, guys, some experts in my mind. We don't want to be like, oh, you should do this and this and this. We're not taking the advisor role. What we want to do is we want to create a platform where we can have discussions, where we are not like disrupted by everything else. Like if you're on Facebook today in a group, you're getting like ping, ping, ping everywhere, right? We want to create an environment where people can be, okay, now I'm really thinking about investing my money. And when people use their money, they want like confidentiality, they want like trust, they want like that type of community around. So the people who is a part of the community, they're like, we are all here to help out. So it might be like, hey guys, Oatly went to the stock exchange, should we invest in them? And then I'm like, no, maybe you should, maybe it's too expensive. And then if you look at the Oatly stock today, it has been going down, right? Because of a lot of stuff. And people say that the Oatly, the brand, like the oat milk brand, they got half owned by Wall Street or wherever. They have a lot of talks about these things. But that discussion, to have that, is not everywhere where the younger generation can sit with the friends, because not all of the friends are interested in investing, but more and more is doing it. So it's going to be a dinner table discussion about which company you should invest in. Like, dude, why do you wear those sneakers? Like Adidas is like, or Nike or whatever. And then we have a discussion about whether this is sustainable or not.
Right.
And that's where we have some knowledge that we get from somewhere about companies, sustainable driven way. Maybe I've read the sustainable impact report of Adidas or Nike, and I can tell about that. So people have different knowledge, and bringing that knowledge together in a community, that's where it makes, in my mind, is magic. Letting the users to actually discuss these things,
right.
Because the companies are also like, hey, what does our customers actually say about our brand?
Yeah.
They're just listening and waiting and say, okay, and if this is about an investment game as well, like if you're number one, top 100 in the world on sustainability, maybe these companies also are quite interested in saying, what is the new generation about investors actually saying about it? It's not just on Nordnet or Saxo Bank or whatever, where we have the day traders talking about whether a company is going up and down or eToro. We need to go somewhere else and actually look at what is human beings, as if I can say it this way, new generation of investors thinking about this.
Yeah.
They are the future. There's like 90% out there that is not investing today, and they are going to be in the market in the next 5-10 years. So who's going to win that battlefield? Who is going to make sure that they don't, get, scared and run away? And we can also see on the crypto market, many things is happening there. Crypto for 10 years ago or 5 years ago were like, no bank will offer anything with crypto, no. And now they're like, okay, great. The same thing here. Now we are welcoming sustainable investment because the law is pushing us everywhere. And it's going to be, of course, as a no-brainer that, of course, you invest sustainably. So that's some of the things that is buzzing around in my mind.
Well, but I think it's quite an interesting and quite a revolutionary concept to make a community such an important part of your business model, right? Because I can safely say that most of the incumbent banks don't really have a community. They have customers and they have products that they push there, right?
Yeah. And then they're answering them on Facebook and saying, sorry for things, right? That's what they're doing. You're totally right. So we had that, okay, this is how we have to create the product. This is how we have to create the new way we want to invest. This is what we started doing in Make Impact, and what I can see a lot of startups are doing, taking down the community and then work with the community to build products. Well, the banks, incumbent banks, have never, it has been really, really hard to get down that road. And who should be there to take that battle, like with the customers? Because we have the old customers, like the people who have been there for many years, then we have the younger ones, and the younger ones get scared away. They're like, no way I'm going to be a customer in this bank. I've seen this one happen for my friend. No, I'm not going to do it. And the lack of, you can say that digitalization has gone in the right way, but I think that the incumbent banks in some way have forgot how to communicate when you then digitalize everything. Like, there's no number to call people. There's no chat function to get a real person, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, you have to find that, and then you get like answers. I have a chat function with my bank, like trying to write, and it's like, hey, come on, do something, right? So that's what I see that the startups and the new companies are really focusing on.
Let's talk about what are the opportunities that you see in the market, both for companies and for customers, as a result of democratizing the industry, specifically democratizing wealth.
So as I see it right now, the technology is at a stage where like you can just connect with an API and then create an investment platform by this. It's so easy today. That's my strategy, and that should be the strategy in my mind in the future. So when you have these technology-driven things that you just like put them together, that's fine. But if we see that wealth management is moving into the direction where we need to get closer to the users or customers' values and their needs, we need to spend more time. I would say 40% or something like that of our time to understand the customer segment and actually work with them. The products will maybe be like 10-15% of it, and then the rest will maybe be technology. I know but we need to nail it down in this way. Like 40% of your business should focus on understanding the customers all the time. It's not just like, okay, we do a survey or we do a focus group. Hell no. We need to have a community that is driving and understanding and all the time utilizing time on. And it costs time, it costs money, but it's easy because you get so much from the new gen of people. They if you ask them, they answer it straight away. That's how I see wealth management should do in the future.
Right.
But that's not how it has been.
No.
We look at the products and then we go into going into a pension company and saying, great, okay, what products do you have? Oh, you have these products. Great, let's label them in this color.
Yeah.
And then call it this. Or insurance, we unbundle an already existing insurance in a smaller bits and pieces. That was 1 decade ago. Now we need to really create products with the clients and utilize time with them. And then we have to go to the incumbent pension companies and insurance companies or wherever, saying, okay, great. Yeah, the users don't want this product. You need to create a product on this side. Yeah, but Varan, we don't earn so much money. I don't really care. Create this product. I want to buy it. I want to present this for the users. That's the dialogue that we need to have with the product developers or whoever is creating the products. And to be honest, being a startup, you shouldn't create the products.
Right.
You should cherry pick on the products, but you need to say what's need to be in the products and get somebody else to create them. Because otherwise, you will end up creating a sustainable fund, whatever, and then the users thinks that is sustainable, and then you have a product where you have a company in your fund that is not sustainable anymore, and you don't know, like, and your community is screaming at you. It's like, why did you sell me this? It's like, I don't know, right? Like, that's why you need to sometimes figure out, okay, how you create these products. You need to find the experts on this, but you need to take care of the user experience, the customer journey, and the community. That's how I see new future companies in the wealth management should work on doing products. But that's just me. I'm not the expert, right? But, that was just some of the things that I think in the future would be interesting.
Right, Varan. Well, I think with that we can close today's interview. Thank you so much for coming down, and it's really refreshing hearing someone that speaks with so much conviction and passion, and also knowledge about your subject matter. So
Thank you.
It's been great talking to you.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you.
Thanks, Varan.
Thanks.